Our next topic is type conversion. It means the converting the data from one data type to another data type. Like if I have the data in float form, float type of value, then we can convert it into a integer type value. Or a Boolean type value is converted into integer type value. So converting one data type to another data type is type conversion. There are two types of type conversion. One is implicit type conversion and next one is explicit type conversion. Implicit type conversion is the conversion done by Python itself. We will learn this later on. When we come to expressions, that time I can explain you. But now we will learn about explicit type conversion. So this doesn't happen automatically. It's not done automatically by Python. A programmer has to convert. Programmer has to mention how to convert from one data type to another data type. There are some functions available for type conversions like integer, float, complex, bool and string. These are the functions. I have mentioned them here. These are the functions that are used for converting one data type to another data type. Like if you have the data in any type, you can convert it into integer type using this function, int function. Now similarly, from any type you can convert a data type from any type to float type using this float function. So I will explain about all these functions one by one. So for that, already I have taken some example variables here. See, I is a variable having integer type value, alright, and f is a variable which is having float type of value, b is having a boolean type, c is having complex type, s1 is having a string type of value, alright. So let us see how these function works. First of all, let us talk about integer function. Here already I have variable I that is of type integer. This data is integer, right? Now let us come to float. See, I will take one variable x and I want to convert this value of f, that is float 16.59, to an integer. So I should write like this, int f. This will convert the float value, that is 16.59, into an integer value and store the data in x. So what x will be containing? X variable will be containing value 16. So this 0.59 will be removed. This integer function will convert this float number into an integer number by removing the decimal part. So it will become 16. So this is how float can be converted to integer. Now similarly, can I convert x assign integer of Boolean type? Boolean means true, true. Can I convert this one? Yes, it can be converted. Then what will be the value that is stored in x? See, you remember when I explain Boolean type, true means 1 and false means 0. So yes, it will convert into 1 because true means 1. So x will contain value 1. Now let us try next type. X assign integer of c. So I want to convert this complex number into an integer number. Do you think it is possible? Just guess. No, it is not possible because it is having two portions. This complex number is having two components. One is a real part, another one is an imaginary part, right? So this part cannot be converted into integral part, so even it will not convert this one. So a complex number cannot be converted into a integer. This is not possible. This is not possible. Then what about string? Let us check string. So see, these are valid. You can convert a float to an integer and boolean into an integer. Complex number cannot be converted into an integer because it is having two components, right? Now what about string? Let us write x assign integer of s1. Can it be converted into any number? No, this string is having a name. It is having alphabets. So it cannot be converted into an integer. So this string is also not possible. But see, I will take one more string s2 and in this I will write down the value 125 in quotes. This is a string but it is having numeric digits. It is having just a digit. Now if I write x assign int of s2, yes, this can be converted. So what will be the value in x? X will be holding the value that is 125. So it will convert this into a integer number, that is 125. So string can be converted into integer by using int function if the content of a string is digits, right? If it is having alphabets, it cannot be converted. Now there is something more about integer. Suppose I am having a string. Here I will write down S3 is a string which is having 0B1111. So this is binary 15. Can I convert this into an integer using a int function? This is a string. Actually, this is a string. So I can convert this by writing int S3, but I should also write base 2. This is base 2. So inside integer function, see, so far we were giving just one variable f, b, right? Only one parameter we were giving here, only one value we were giving to int function, but now we are giving two things. One is a string, other one is a base value. So if a number is in some other number system, then you should give base value. Suppose you have S4 and that S4 is having 0xA2. Okay, so then if you write int x assign int, if you write S4, then this is base 16. So you should write base 16 here. So this will convert a string into an integer, but you should also mention a base in case of integer function. So this is about integer function. All right. Now let us look at float. Let us look at float. I will take these same values and I will show you about the float function. Let us talk about float function. I will take one variable and I will call float function and I will pass integer value I. Yes, this is allowed. X will be holding a value, that is 15 is converted into float, so this becomes 15.0, right? So writing F means it's already float, but if you write B, the Boolean value is converted into float value. So Boolean value is how much? Actually it is true, right? True means 1, so this will be 1.0 because it is float. The function is float. This is allowed. Now for a complex number, float will not work. Complex number, if you write, this will not work. Again, the same thing, there are two parts in complex number, it cannot be converted. Now, if I use string 1, float string 1, this will not work S1 because this is not having digits. This will not work. But if I give a valid string, then it gets converted S2 because this is having numbers or digits inside. So this will get converted. Okay. So this is allowed. So X will be holding a value that is 125.0. This is allowed. So you can convert a string to a float if a string is containing just digits. All right. Now let us look at complex. X assign complex of I. I is integer. So what it will form? X will be holding an object of type complex and it will be containing 15 plus 0j. So as I is the integer value and it is just one single value, so one single value that will become a real part and imaginary part will be 0. There is no imaginary part. So yes, integer can be converted into complex number, right? But the imaginary part will be 0. Similarly, if I convert complex f, then also it is same thing. X will be holding the value. It will get converted into 16.59 plus 0j because the imaginary part is not there, so it will just take real part and imaginary part is 0. So float can be converted into complex. Now what about this Boolean value? Yes, this is also allowed. So I don't have to explain. I guess you have understood how it will work. So tell me what it will be. It will be 1.0 plus 0j, right? So this will be the value. This is the complex number. Now already complex is a complex number, but now what about string? String, can I write a string? Yes, if it is a valid string, then it is possible. So I will take one more string S3 and I will write 10 plus 6j in its string. Then if this is the form, then it will convert complex number into a string. And even if you write single number also, it will take just real part and doesn't take imaginary part, right? The imaginary part is 0. Now one more thing. I can create a complex number just by using a function complex, and I can directly mention an integral value here. So this will be creating a complex number with 10 plus 0j, 10 plus 0j. I have given only one number. I can also pass both the values by separated by comma. I can give 10 plus comma 6. So this will create a complex number 10 plus 6j. So a complex number will work on all the data types, right? It works on integer, it works on float, it works on boolean, it works on a string if it is a valid string, and even you can pass just a real component or you can pass a real and imaginary component. It works. So this is about complex. Now I will explain bool type. Bool function works on all the data types. All the data types. Okay, it works on integer, float, and complex number as well as a string. Let us see this on integer. If I say bool and if I pass integer variable I, then it is 15. So x will be holding an object that is boolean object that is true. So it will become true. When it will be false, only if the value passed here is 0. So similarly for float also it will be true, and this is true only already. For complex number also it will be true, and in the case of complex number it will be false only if you have given a complex number 0 plus 0j, then it will be false. Otherwise it will be true. Now next is a string data type. If you are giving a string data type to bool function, then it returns true for every string, whatever the string may be. If you are giving empty strings, that means just if you are giving simply quotes, then it returns false. For empty string it returns false, for any string it returns true. Whether the string may be S1, that is John, for that also you get 2, and for 125 also, for S3 also, for S4 also you will get the result as true. So for any string it returns true except for an empty string. Then lastly about string. This can work on all these types, all the data types. It will simply convert the data into a string. Like suppose if I write str of I, then x will be holding an object that is I converted into 15. So 15 gets converted into a string. So I is 15, so it will be a string. So it will be in quotes. So anything you pass, it gets converted into a string, right? This works on any type. There is no condition, right? So there is no need of any valid or there is nothing like valid or invalid string. Now let us look at one table. I will show you what is compatible and what is not compatible in type conversion. See, these are the functions that we have already seen just now: int, float, complex, bool, and string. They work on integer type. Integer function works on integer also, float also, it converts float, but doesn't convert a complex number. It will convert a boolean data type and also a valid string. It will not convert any string, just it will convert valid string. So but it works on the string. But for complex number, it never works. Float works on all except complex. Complex work on everything, all the data type. It can convert any type into complex. Bool can also convert any type into bool. Then string can convert any type into a string. So you can remember this table. So with this you can remember what type of conversions are allowed, what type of conversions are not allowed. Now one important thing, do you really have to remember all these things? No, while writing programs, while practicing, you can get memorize all these things by smoothly. Okay, you don't have to give special attention for by hearting or remembering all these things. All right, and if you are going for certification, then you should know all these things thoroughly. Let us look at the demonstration for these type conversions. I will take the variables I as value 15, that is integer, then f as 16.59, that is float type, and b is true, that is boolean, and c is 10 plus 6j, that is complex, and s1 is a string having John, right? S2 is a string having value 125 inside. Then S3 is a string having value true, right? Now let us see how the conversion is done. To a variable x, I will say integer of value float. Yes, it is converted. If I print x, the value is 16, right? So that is 0.59 is removed. Now can I convert a complex number into an integer? I will see complex. No, it doesn't work. Can I convert a string S1? So if you see string S1 is John, let us see whether it will convert to an integer, int of S1. No, it doesn't work. Now what about the second string? S2 is 125. Will it work or not? Let us check x assign integer of type S2. Yes, it is working. If I print x, it is 125. That's it. I have shown the demonstration only for integer and I have shown you only few conversion. Now it's an exercise for you to try out all possible conversion. Declare all the variables like this and you try out all possible combination. Alright, so you should know this, right? You should know this. It's a very simple and petty thing in Python, which may be useful at many places when you are developing applications. So just you should practice this once, that is sufficient. Alright, that's all in this lecture.